Hey guys, what's up? SonOfChelsea back here again for another edition of my Premier League review. In this show, basically, I take the main talking points, in my opinion, from the weekend and discuss them, so let's get to it. Firstly is just the weekend of shocks. Just literally so many shocks this weekend. You had Liverpool losing at Newcastle, you had Stoke beating Man City, which I'll come on to, and then of course, I think the biggest shock clearly of the weekend, sadly for me, was Chelsea 0, Bournemouth 1. But is it really a shock? Yeah, I think it still is, even though Chelsea have been absolutely shambolic this season. A heartless performance. You can go and watch my review, link in the description of the game. But really, I think on Bournemouth, it's a brilliant result for them. Brilliant result for Eddie Howe. They've had a few poor results, or a bad run of results. But if you think about it, came back late on against Everton last week, confidence boosting, and an even bigger confidence boosting, probably the biggest confidence boost that squad could have, and it's probably going to not get any better for Bournemouth in terms of days, really. I've said on this channel before, and also in my review, that I do have a lot of respect for Bournemouth. I think that the work they've done on that club is simply sensational to be able to get where they are. And I think it'd be better for the Premier League if Bournemouth do stay in. I think it'd be an amazing achievement, one of the biggest achievements staying up. Considering the resources, considering the size of the club, considering where they were only 2 years ago. You know, it's massive. It's massive for the club. And I think definitely going into festive period, it's big for Bournemouth that they have a confidence boosting win, even without some of their key players. You talk about injuries, you know, bigger clubs. Injuries to Bournemouth have really halted their season. But to go to Stamford Bridge on Saturday to get that victory, it's massive for them. So for them, can they go into this festive period and continue picking up results? That's the big question. Next is Manchester City losing at Stoke. Now, I thought Stoke were absolutely brilliant. I watched this game and Stoke wiped the floor of Manchester City. For me, there's no other way of putting it. They passed them off the pitch. And anyone saying that it was down to the wind, the reason why City didn't perform, absolute nonsense. Because if people were watching the game, they would have realised that Stoke passed the ball around, played some lovely football. One of the best footballing performances I've seen from Stoke in the Premier League, and also just one of the best footballing performances I've seen this season. That front four of Afellay, Bojan, Arnautovic and Shaqiri just absolutely destroyed that Man City defence, caused them trouble all day. They probably should have been about 4 or 5-0 up, and that's not an exaggeration. Arnautovic, I thought, was brilliant on Saturday as being that main central figure, constantly being a threat. And also what I like about Mark Hughes, I think he's definitely, now you can see the work he's done in the last 2 or 3 years, kind of changing the style of Stoke. Can play with a little bit of flair, can pass it around, has key attacking players who do have talent, but also still sticking to that physical side of Stoke, which I do appreciate. The fact that they've still been able to keep that. They are still a physical side, which is going to make them difficult and even more of a threat when you go up to Stoke, or also when you play them anywhere. On to City, Manuel Pellegrini, the pressure rises again. It seems without Aguero or company, City just aren't the same team. I think it's definitely mentality, and I think it comes from the manager. I don't think Pellegrini, I think it's clearly obvious he isn't to the level of the top managers in the world. He just isn't, in my opinion. I think they still are favourites for the Premier League, but they just aren't showing it the way I expected them to. They are constantly having these bad results, and it's more kind of a sign of the Premier League this season. Just no one's taken the Premier League by the scruff of the neck, except for Leicester, which we have talked about in the past, but none of the big teams are stepping up. Manchester City needs to step up soon. And lastly, it's Newcastle's 2-0 victory over Liverpool. This was probably the biggest shock. From a Chelsea perspective, it's not good because our relegation rival's picking up points. But this one really shocked me. I think Jurgen Klopp has done some brilliant work at Liverpool. He's clearly changed it around. They're going to places like Southampton in the League Cup and winning like 6-1. And, you know, I expected them to go there, easily roll over. I was even like walking away from the game. You know, I was just expecting it to be an easy rollover. But no, Newcastle, they fought and won the game, and it's a massive result for Steve McLaren. Last week I talked about him maybe being for the sack after that awful defeat against Crystal Palace. Does this change things? Not really, because every now and then Newcastle can pull out these results. They can beat bigger teams. It's really a case of consistency, and also the teams they've got to beat. You know, teams are in and around them that they've got to get points against. And I don't think the consistency will be there, because it seems that one week they'll turn up and then most of the time the players just aren't together. So it is a big win for Steve McLaren. It takes the pressure slightly off his back. But can Newcastle now continue this consistency? Personally, I don't think so. I still think they're in trouble. So that has been it for my Premier League review, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. As I say, let me know your thoughts on everything I've said. Also, teams that I didn't discuss, things of the week that I didn't talk about in this episode, let me know down in the comments below. You can follow me personally on Twitter at SonOfChelsea. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, and I will see you again.